A man was dying. Dozens of climbers walked past him, not because they didn't see him, not because they didn't care, but because at 8,000 meters, compassion becomes complicated. Above the clouds, in a place known as the death zone, your body begins to shut down, your brain slows, your morality blurs, and sometimes the summit stands just a few hundred meters away. What really happened on Mount Everest, and what does it reveal about us? To understand this, you first have to understand Everest. Climbing the world's highest mountain is not like hiking a trail. It's a calculated, dangerous expedition that costs tens of thousands of dollars, months of preparation, and often years of dreaming. There is a very small weather window each season, sometimes only a few days, when conditions are stable enough to attempt the summit. Miss that window, and your entire expedition may be over. Now, imagine this. You've trained for years. You've spent your savings. You've left your family behind. You are only a few hundred meters from the summit, and then you see someone collapsed on the route at 8,500 meters in the death zone. One of the most discussed incidents happened in 2006. A British climber named David Sharp was found sitting beneath a rocky overhang known as Green Boots Cave. He was severely hypothermic and suffering from a lack of oxygen. Over the course of that day, dozens of climbers passed by him. Some reportedly spoke to him. Some believed he was already beyond saving. Others assumed another team was handling the situation. Later, he died there. When news spread that climbers had stepped over a dying man, the world reacted with outrage. How could anyone ignore someone in need? How could the summit matter more than a human life? But the reality at 8,000 meters is more complicated and far more uncomfortable. At extreme altitude, rescue is almost impossible. You cannot simply carry someone down. Even moving your own body is exhausting. To drag or carry a person weighing 70 or 80 kilograms in that environment would require multiple climbers, perfect coordination, and enormous strength that most people simply don't have left at that altitude. In fact, attempting a rescue often risks multiple lives. There have been cases where rescuers died trying to save someone. So climbers face a brutal calculation. If someone is unresponsive, severely hypothermic, and out of oxygen in the death zone, are they already beyond saving? And if you stop too long, do you risk becoming another body on the mountain? These are decisions made in an environment where your brain is oxygen deprived, where fear, fatigue, and survival instinct take over. This doesn't excuse what happened, but it explains the context. Everest exposes something raw about human nature. At sea level, morality feels clear. Help someone in need, call for assistance, do everything you can. But above 8,000 meters, morality collides with survival. You are not thinking like your normal self. Your body is shutting down. Your oxygen is limited. Your safety margin is razor thin. And in that moment, climbers must choose. Risk everything to attempt a rescue that may fail, or continue upward or downward to ensure their own survival. There are no easy answers. What makes these stories even more disturbing is that Everest has become commercialized. Today, hundreds of climbers attempt the summit in a single season. Long lines form near the top. People wait in hours in freezing temperatures. When ambition, money, pride, and extreme conditions combine, judgment becomes fragile. Some critics argue that summit fever, the overwhelming desire to reach the top, can override compassion. Others argue that it's easy to judge from sea level, sitting comfortably at home, because the truth is, most of us will never face a decision like that. We will never have to choose between our own survival and someone else's in an environment where rescue is nearly impossible. But this isn't just a story about Everest. It's a story about limits, physical limits, moral limits, psychological limits. The mountain doesn't create monsters. It reveals pressure. And under extreme pressure, humans don't always behave the way we imagine they would. Some climbers have risked their lives to save strangers on Everest. There are heroic rescue stories too, teams turning around near the summit to carry someone down. But those rescues are rare and often nearly fatal for the rescuers. The death zone strips away comfort and clarity. It forces impossible choices. So what really happened on Everest? Did people step over a dying man? Yes. But the deeper question is why? Not because they were necessarily heartless, but because at 8,000 meters, survival becomes primal. Because rescue may have been physically impossible. Because judgment at that altitude is impaired. Because the mountain does not forgive hesitation. Everest is not just a test of strength. It's a test of values under extreme conditions. And sometimes, those tests reveal truths we're uncomfortable facing. The image of stepping over someone on the way to the summit is haunting. It forces us to ask, what would I do? Would I turn back? Would I risk my life? Would I freeze in confusion? We like to believe we would choose heroism, but until we stand in the death zone ourselves, we don't truly know. And maybe that's the most unsettling lesson of all. Everest doesn't just challenge the body, it challenges the soul.